Welcome to the Nailed It Wall.
On this week's episode of the Nailed It Wall, we're going to find out, did Mr. Lane and DonnorsChoose finally come to some kind of agreement? Samsung Solve for Tomorrow also released their 100 state winners. Were we among those 100 state winners? Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 28 of the Nailed It Wall. I'm Mr. Lane, the STEM guy.
And I'm Mrs. Schofield.
Well, as we start every episode, partner, we always talked about how did you nail it this week? Now, how have you nailed it this week?
Well, I actually had a good moment where I remembered something. You know, sometimes I forget details, but remember how you had your STEM kids, they were uploading pictures. And it was months ago that I taught you about the I.c.C files, right? But there's a lot of people, it's the holidays just ended. A lot of people got new devices, phones and iPads, and we just got a bunch of new devices here. But a lot of the kids have that I.c.C. What would you say? It's like the way it converts a file, but photos specifically, and it's the way your phone will allow you to hold more things on. But it basically is like high efficiency. Is that what it stands for?
I think it's a HEIC file.
Yeah, but I think it stands for high efficiency something. I don't know what it is. I trust you. Yeah. And
I hate those things. They make me so angry.
Well, and the problem is, why did you need your kids to convert it? It's because it's not compatible with, you can't put it anywhere really, right?
I have no clue what it does because once you try to upload it to your Google Drive and put it on a website, they're not compatible. They don't get along.
Yeah, exactly. So you can put it into Google Drive, you can share those photos and stuff, but it won't, and you can text those to other people, but you can't put it into a Google Slides, you can't put it into a Google Sites or anything.
Sure, it can go into iPhoto if kids actually plug in their phones to a computer and print off pictures.
Yeah, it probably could, but you can't put it into a lot of these things. And we learned that
a lot of headaches.
It is a huge headache, and it's a file that ends up being kind of a pain when you want to use it later. So I remembered how to fix that for your kids, and then we fixed them for your iPads. And I have to say, I was pretty excited that I remembered that trick. It's really, really simple. So if any of our listeners need help with that, I can help you convert that. But that was a cool moment for me this week. And as far as failed it, I would say it's a long time coming. I'm nailing it now, but I kind of failed it. And that all teachers, when you graduate the program, you have to have a class that is U.S. history, Constitution. Is that what I think? It's U.S. Constitution history.
And Arizona Constitution.
And Arizona Constitution history, because, that's going to be awesomely fun. So you said from the get, sign up. But as a new teacher, you got a lot going on. You're trying to write curriculum, you're learning, how to be a teacher. And it's an awful lot. So I did not sign up. But now it's time because I have to have those classes done by, I think, June. So I've got some time.
And I've been on you for 3 years. I was like, get these classes done. Yeah. I'm like, they're online, get them done. So once you become a teacher in Arizona, you get a 3-year provisional teaching certificate. Yeah. And then part of that provisional certificate is you're going to complete these 6 credit hours of U.S. Constitution and Arizona Constitution. And I've been you got to get these done, get them done.
You did mention that.
And you literally have 4 months to get these done.
Well, and I have to credit Mrs. Bonham because it wasn't on my radar, and she got a tap from HR reminding her that hers were coming due. And so she helped me navigate the world of online classes. I gotta tell you, I haven't been a college student now for, since I did my program 3 years ago, and I'm a little hazy on it. And it's not the same college. I'm doing it through Rio Salado, which is awesome. And I signed up I think last week, and then I went through and tried to do a bunch of my reading and stuff. I know so much about U.S. history in just lesson 1, so I can't even imagine what's coming down for me.
and then you hate the fact that you can't go ahead. You can only do one assignment per week.
I can't even turn in this assignment. That's what's killing me and details are not my strength. And we have so many things. We're busy. We have so many things that we're juggling and stuff. And so the weekend is a great time for me. So I did all my reading, I completed these quizzes, and then there's an assignment and there's a place to turn it in, except for when I did it, it said, you're too early, it hasn't been opened up yet. So now I have to remember that sometime this week I have to go back in and do that, which I got to tell you, it's 50-50. And you can't miss any assignments. Every assignment you have to turn in or else you do not pass the class. And it's not a cheap class. So it's kind of a failed it in the fact that, I got other things going on, but I'm manning up. I'm doing this and I'm going to get it done and I will crush it. And I'm going to be like really, really well versed in all of this Constitution.
Now you're taking both these classes at the same time?
Simultaneously. It's a 12-week online class.
Wow, going right up to the deadline there.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I'm so proud of you. I'm glad you're getting this done. I mean, it is imperative for your teaching certificate to have these on your certificate to get them done. So
True.
Well done on your part. Now, it was our first week back from break. Great first week back. You're trying to get your teacher legs. The kids are kind of getting acclimated. They come back on Monday. Like I said, they're going to be zombies. This is actually Mrs. Ligori's theory. I can't take credit from it. Day 2, they start to get a little chatty. And then day 3, you want to hone it down, lock it down. And I mean, the kids came back on Monday. They were just like, at the end of the day, they were just like zombies.
They really were.
They were just so tired. And break takes a lot out of the kids. And getting back in it. But I had such a fun. I got a new 7th and 8th grade group. I'm so excited about the 2 groups of kids that I have to start my morning off and going to do so many cool things. This first week, we've already done so many cool things. And we've been doing, I'm going to start off this quarter with animation, kind of really focus on animation. You came up with our name for our Etsy shop and our Sierra Verde maker shop. You came up with the SV Makerspace merch shop. Is that the name?
Maker merch.
Maker merch.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great name.
I
Kids love merch.
Yeah.
All their favorite YouTubers. So it's got that cachet. You crushed it with the name. I'm not even going to try to take credit for the name because
we'll come back to this pod if you do.
We totally will. So I'm excited to kind of get like our Etsy shop going and selling the kids' work and kind of doing these things. And it was just a great week. And I rolled out Flip-A-Clip with the kids, and I hadn't used it a lot. Played with it a little over break, and I was just blown away by what these kids were doing and what they created in the first week with Flip-A-Clip. And what Flip-A-Clip is, it's almost like stop motion for artwork, and they kind of create these cartoon animations.
So that's what I wanted to. So we've done Brush Ninja, and we like that program. But so Flip-A-Clip, basically, this is what I wanted to ask you to like kind of explain. So it's like you'll take a frame. Do you have a starting frame and then you build from that, or does your first frame, is it a blank?
You can do either
canvas?
or.
Okay.
You can do either or.
I found it really fascinating. I don't remember whose I was looking at. Maybe EG over here. I think it's who it was. But I really loved how it was just like, and then you're just changing one detail and then just changing one detail. And it seemed like it had a better ease of use. Brush Ninja is making just a GIF, but that's like a legit story. It really is like a movie.
No, and we were so excited, like, just to see these artwork. And, I just started the week off of flip books, and they were so cool. And some kids try to take their flip books and turn those into Flip-A-Clip. And I want to see what this looks like on the computer animation. So big celebration to Flip-A-Clip. It's my new favorite app.
It's awesome.
But with that being said, Kylie, one of our 8th graders, she has an iPad Pro, amazing artist, and Procreate is something like me and you have been seeing on Twitter a lot, and kind of, it's blown our minds. We're like, oh my goodness, Procreate looks so awesome. It's so cool. We want to get on this, and we have some grant money that we've put aside for Apple Pencils. Yeah. And the Apple Pencils are awesome. I used it for like 10 seconds and I'm already in love. And you have some stylus eye. I don't know what's the plural.
I don't know. That's a good question. I think just stylus.
Stylus. So you have like a jar of those, but like, and the kids loved it for Flip-A-Clip. They really liked it. But like to get those details and do some things, like you really need like that pointer pencil. And I'm sure there's some cheaper ones. And me and you were like, we're going to get the, I don't know what version 2 of the Apple Pencil is. And then me and you luckily had Kylie test it and figured out that the version 2 does not work on our iPads. We need to get the version 1s, and then we're like, oh my goodness, are those version 1s going to be outdated? So we were a little nervous there.
I still am wondering though, like we said, because technology just evolves so quickly, and it's amazing how fast things are
obsolete.
They're obsolete, and then you're left holding a VHS player, and you're like, yay,
a Discman. You're walking around jamming out to a Discman.
Yeah.
So it was just so cool to kind of see the kids' artwork. artwork, their creativity. They were just so excited.
It was amazing.
And they've been putting those on their Google sites, like their portfolio. So just such a cool start to go from like flip books with pencils into Flip a Clip. And I've been busting out the 6th graders 3D prints. I mean, they've worked all second quarter, like designing these things and busting out these 3D prints. And on Friday, I had this one print that finished with like 2 inches of like spool.
That was crazy.
It was so crazy. And I was having such a good Friday. I almost tweeted out being like, everything's downhill from here. Nothing could be better than this like 3D print finishing with like inches of spool. It was just so crazy. I was sweating out the whole time. And I was hitting a wall on Friday. I sent you a text. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna run to Starbucks. I need a little pick me up. Do you want something? So you're like, yeah, pick me up at Starbucks. So I run to Starbucks.
You did.
Mobile order, love mobile order. You're in and you're out. I was like, I'm gonna get all these things done.
It's an ironic choice of words that you say.
I know. It was just such a great first week back.
It really was.
And then I go out to my car, and my car won't start. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. No power, no electricity, anything. And I thought, like, this is the end of my car. I was like I got a fairly new battery in here, and I thought my car was dead. And I'm like, I have to get someone to towed, like, come pick this thing up. It's gonna have to go in the scrap here. And I was trying to look things up. I had like no service on my phone. You came and picked me up, and I was just like gonna get in your car and be like, let's go, let's get out of here.
Legit, we're starting to just get into the car. Like we were gonna leave the car behind. It was
in a 30-minute parking spot.
In a 30-minute parking spot. Just that alone, I was like, hold up here.
Well, and you're like, should we try to jump it? And we jumped it. You were a little nervous, but I am the jump master.
I'm gonna learn
jump
that
a car.
though, because it was really like when I watched you, I loosely watched you, and now I'm like, I should have paid attention. It was really cool.
Yeah, so we jumped my car, we get my car back. So that was all great and everything. But the part of it was, like, when you pulled up, I was so excited. I, like, jumped out of my car so fast, carrying my DVDs, because I couldn't even lock my car. I had this, like, stack of DVDs in my hand. And then I ripped my Red Sox lanyard. And I probably had this, like, lanyard since my first year of teaching. And, like, the thing just, like, ripped, and, the thing got ripped in half. You were so nice. You actually took a small shred of it and nailed it up to the nailed it wall.
It was a beautiful moment.
# nailed it.
I will say, though, it's funny that your entire car, the value for you boils down to a handful of DVDs. Like, that's all you wanted from this whole car. It was like, as long as I have this stack of DVDs, it was a hefty stack, but that was all. Then you were willing to just walk away.
Yes, I was. I had the stack. I lost my lanyard. I think I was more upset about the lanyard getting ripped. But then the story goes into something else. So get back. I take my kids to tumbling. And then my keys were like, they're half and half because of the lanyard, and I wasn't paying attention. So I put my wife's car key onto my school keys for some reason. I don't know what happened there. So we go to tumbling, take my kids to tumbling. I switch out the cars, and then my wife had a birthday party to go to. So I was like, I'm going to drop you off here, and I'm going to take the kids to Chick-fil-A. Ryan loves Chick-fil-A. So Chick-fil-A, if you're looking for a sponsor, the Nailed It Wall would love to be your unofficial sponsor for go-to restaurant.
This is true.
Ryan absolutely loves it. He gets so excited. He thought it said Chipotle, started having a meltdown. He's like, Chipotle. I'm like, I said your favorite place. We're going to Chick-fil-A. So we're having a great night. My wife gets out of the car. It starts beeping. She's like, do you have keys? And I slap my pocket. I'm like, yeah, I got keys. Like, I got this big bulging thing in my pocket. So I'm like, yeah, I got keys. I get to Chick-fil-A, and then I turn off the car, and then I take out my keys, and I look at them, and I'm like, I don't have my Ford key.
Oh my gosh.
And she's like halfway across town. I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, I just want to have a nice Friday night. So like the van dying, my lanyard ripping, like, and like half the times,
oh my gosh,
I want to make these stories up, but like, this is real life for me and you.
These things, 100%.
These things, we couldn't even like script these things that happen to us.
I cannot believe
and then I can't believe we didn't even take a picture of us jumping the thing the other day.
You know what's so funny though about what you did is, I feel like that is not our fault thing. I feel like that's a flaw in the way these keys are designed. The fact that the car does not have to be in the same vicinity once, like you can't start it without the key, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that when the key leaves, I feel like there should be more than just a little beep.
Yeah.
Like a, hey, guys. No, for real. Like, you need that. Because that has happened to me before. And it is not a good feeling. There is nothing you can do. You can't now do anything with that car because the keys are not with you anymore. I feel like that is not necessarily solely our fault.
Yeah, and so all these things just transpire to this. I get to Chick-fil-A. My kids are just so hungry at this time. I mean, they had a long week. That me and you are working on our Astro Camp email after school, so we had them. We're like, we need 1 hour to like bust this out and work. Sprinted them to, and I was a little nervous that my car was going to start up in the.
I was nervous for you.
And so they're starving, and then I call my wife, and then luckily shout out to my main man, Nick, fellow dance dad. He was a trooper. He left the party, brought the keys to us.
That's nice.
Sat down, ate with us, almost called you. I was like, I didn't know you were so busy, so I was going to be like, you're not going to believe this again.
I cannot believe
my keys.
that. That is crazy.
So yeah, and then I was like running these. I'm like, do I Uber at home with my kids? And then I was like, I didn't have keys. I didn't have keys to get into. I guess I could have gotten the garage thing, but so long story short, like my car didn't start up. I ripped my lanyard. I went to Chick-fil-A and I had no key there.
It's basically like that book, like the no good, very bad day.
Yeah.
But the irony is it was such a great day.
Yeah, it was.
It was a great day with really, really inconvenient things happening. It was odd because it was such a happy day.
Yeah, and I was getting a little down on myself, and like you picked me up there, and you're like, it's a great day, and the week was just so awesome. Like for all those things to happen, and kind of get stressed out, and
the good news is, listeners, the STEM mobile is still in business.
It is.
And you know what? Like, people may be listening and say, like, oh, your battery died. Like, you don't just leave your car. His car, it's seen some years.
Yeah.
It has seen some years. But I have to say, it's a good, solid car. And so I'm glad that it rallied for you and that it's still trucking along. It's a good car.
And I won't give up on it. I won't give up on it. It needs a little TLC, but it was a roller coaster. But I can't say enough like what an awesome first week it was.
Yeah,
and
it was.
To have like almost send that tweet and be like, it's all downhill from here, and then it literally went all downhill from there.
Yeah, that is true.
Now, as this year has kind of gone along, I feel like we've almost like kind of switched roles a little bit. Like I used to always be the down in the dumps, like angry, like mad at the world kind of person. Like I would get so upset when things didn't go our way, or like we didn't receive a grant.
This is true.
And then I feel like I've almost morphed into you in a sense where I'm like always so positive and be like, oh, this is great, it's gonna be awesome. And you used to always be the one having to pick me up and being like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And we got our result from Samsung. So tell us what happened with Samsung.
Okay. But before I do that, I have to say this. I think that a lot of that growth is because you have developed a whole culture in your class and personally about the whole concept of failure. And then if you think about that, it really has transformed like who we are in the way that I feel like we look at things now. And it's more of like such more of a positive thing, right? Like I think that is a huge contributor. And just thought we'd talk things out on here too. But anyway, I decided to have that as an aside.
No, you're totally right. And like I would get so worked up and so upset, like, and then like you'd always have to like talk me off the ledge. You'd be like, it's okay, it's gonna be fine, or something else is gonna come down the pipeline, and it does. And I feel like this past year you've taken things a little harder than you usually do.
Well, I think that's true. Like you don't have to talk me down from the ledge, but I definitely I think what the hard part is how you said you've grown in an area. I wasn't super emotional, and that's an area that I've gotten to be a little bit different in. And so usually my disappointment
You're a bucket.
Yes, usually my disappointment in the last year it has ties to how I feel it's going to impact the kids. Like whatever these things of disappointment are, they tend to be things that are hard for me to know, like the effects on our kids. And I think that in general, those are the things that bum me out the most. And the Samsung thing, we really, we had a lot of hope in it, not because we want to be a school that moves on. I love the 27 dress analogy. Yeah, we want that. But more than that, we wanted to see this group of kids, like these kids, this idea. We wanted to see that go forward. And I think that was what was really just disappointing. And I knew who was going to have to deliver this news, and it wasn't you. So
I hate delivering bad news.
Oh, it's awful. Who wants to deliver it? And
the boss from Office Space.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so, I knew that Lincoln was going to come running up. I mean, we found out that he had posted on social media, we were finding out the next day. He was so excited. And it just makes it that much harder when you know that they're so invested in it. It's why you want it so bad for them, but it's also what's going to make it that much harder. And you just don't want them to walk away from that with any kind of thought that they did something wrong or there was something lacking. It just wasn't their year. And that was really hard because their idea was great, their enthusiasm, their passion, their drive, everything. We couldn't have asked for anything better. So I did not take it well. So we were supposed to find out Thursday. And you found it a day earlier than that.
Wednesday night.
Yeah, Wednesday night. And that was like such a blow for us. But and then the hard thing is like, I'm thinking all night, like, oh gosh, maybe maybe I can bring him a cake. I don't even know. Like, how do you make this better? So yeah, but it's fine, right? It's fine. It's disappointing,
awesome.
But it's fine.
And like you talk about, like, what a great week back. That was definitely something that I called you like on Wednesday after school, and I was like, can you imagine, like, we're going to be finding out tomorrow, and imagine where this could go to that next level, and something that, we wanted our kids to kind of have. And this is something that's so student led, and something, totally. If you heard our podcast last week and listened to those kids and how passionate they were and how much they loved this project, it was a complete bummer. And mm-hmm. I've said it over and over, like, how much I already felt like we've won because of the experiences we had working with these kids. I got to spend a lot of time with two kids that I didn't even know until this whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was a bummer. You're bummed, and I'm like, look at where we came from. We didn't know what this year was even going to give us.
True.
We didn't know if we had that idea to get us to this point, and they just really loved the whole process. And I feel like they're better kids because of it. Obviously, we're better teachers. We talked about failure. This is our third year in a row being a state finalist. Maybe next year, if they pick 6 state finalists, we have a 100% chance we'll advance. And like you said, there's the cool thing was there were 2 other middle schools that won for the state of Arizona. Mm-hmm. One was Snowflake, and they've won the whole thing one year where they won $100,000. And there was another school last year that won it last year that we're competing against. And, it's like we talk about, and, they were kind of spread out through Arizona. I think there's only 2 schools in the valley. Yeah. So it was just such a cool experience. And I had to kind of tell you, be like, it was awesome. We grew so much with these kids. We did so many cool things in that time, and you were just in the dumps there. I'm not gonna lie, I was in the dumps, but I was like, I had to bring you back on the positive train.
Yeah, well, and I think that if it's depending on how we want to look at it. If our goal is we really wanted this to be the year we advance, and that's our focus, and then there's not a lot that you're like, oh, it's all great and everything is right. But that's not really why we do any of these challenges. It's not like, oh, we want to have our school. It's not that. We want to say we want to give our kids an authentic experience to solve a real problem. Not a problem that we hand feed them, as we know. I mean, they called around, they had their failed ideas, but they generated a problem, and then they came up with a way to solve it. And that's what our goal is, to give them these authentic opportunities, and then to teach them the process of what goes into putting this challenge together. And this, for us, this was so much growth for you and I about how much to guide them. We really just facilitated on this one, and we got much better at that this year. But that is because they took ownership and they actually really were invested. But you look at all the growth for that. For them to understand that everything in life boils down to an idea, it just comes to an idea. And in the world of internet success of things are just these small ideas and then they blow up because of YouTube or whatever. You get your 5 seconds of fame and then, what you can do with it and what they're, you look at all that and that's incredible growth. So we didn't move forward, but we won a million ways. And what they will take forward with that, they have a very entrepreneurial spirit about all three of them. Wyatt, that was tough. Because I told Lincoln, and then Wyatt was kind of on the fringe, and then she heard, and then looking at her, it was like, oh gosh, it's so hard for me to tell you. But other kids asked, they knew it was the date. Kids at the school,
North.
I
Poor
know.
North.
Poor North. I really tried to say. I think I said it pretty kind, but she knew it was a nerve.
I told you to apologize again.
I did, because just as sweet as could be, she asked, if we had found out or when or whatever. And it was so raw.
This is a Thursday morning when we're filming announcements for our Green Screen Friday.
Yeah. I didn't even know how to respond. You saw. I did not know how to respond.
Well.
Yeah. I didn't. It was fine. But, but I love that kids ask, and I love that teachers are asking, and that it's on people's radar. And, it's like, okay. And I didn't feel disappointed to have to tell North. It was just like I still hadn't figured out how I was going to tell the 3 kids. That was my big worry, and I was like, oh gosh, it's just eating me up inside. So once I ripped the Band-Aid off, and then they knew, and then it was kind of like, all right, let's move forward. And we learned a lot from this competition about things that we would do. So I think that it'll be, no matter what happens going forward, I love the experience. I love the experience. So we got a lot.
Huge announcement in 8th grade with the sweater contest. You talk
Yes.
about one failure, announce who was the winner.
So the person that won all of 8th grade, the one I'm going to make the sweater,
ugly Christmas sweater for next year,
sweater, is actually Lincoln's. And not because he lost Samsung. It was just coincidentally, every time I would take these out, I just kept coming back to his. He did a jingle cells, and it was really, really clever.
Love it. That is clever.
It is really clever. And I will be so proud to sport this. And his smile, when I told him he won, he's like a character you would dream of having him in movies, because he's so animated and everything is so heartfelt. He was very, very excited and touched by that. So yeah, it was highs and lows for Lincoln, but all of them, they just rallied. And they took it great. And, and then it just makes us realize you don't have to protect kids from those kinds of things. Failure is a part of life. And if you don't walk them through that and be part of that, then you're doing them a disservice. So, Well
said. And they left at the end of the day. They all kind of came together, and we did a little special treat for them, and they just all had the biggest smile on their faces. Yeah. And this is something I hope they'll always cherish and remember.
Yeah,
and
me too.
To know they're part of this. But you talk about taking that learning outside the classroom. I mean, they were in there doing the application, doing all this stuff in a Google Doc, and it's so cool. And you don't know how, of these 100 state winners, how much are being student led,
Yeah.
And that's something that we try to really celebrate and focus on. And
Right.
It's about you, the kids, and not us, the teachers, doing this. And we'll get there. We're not going to give up.
No, it's fun.
And then I'll proudly be the 27 dresses of Samsung Solve for tomorrow. And it's an honor to be a finalist.
It is,
because you're among the top 300 STEM ideas. This is your proposal, out of thousands of applications, was among the final 300. And, sometimes you lose sight of that. You're going from 300 to 100. And, we didn't make that. And, but the kids, I could not be more proud of them. And I feel we truly are the biggest winners from all that.
Well, and if your goal is to give student voice, an authentic audience, they came up with a problem. They came up with a solution, and Samsung saw value in what they saw as well. And that is huge for kids to have someone who's qualified to look at these things and say, wow, great idea. Let's see where you can go with that. I think that's awesome. And the more we can do that for kids, I think that's the future. I mean, we have a lot of problems all around, and someone's got to pay attention to them and start coming up with solutions. So
yes. Well, people have been asking me, they're like, what's going on with you and DonnorsChoose? The good news is DonnorsChoose and myself, we've come to an agreement. We're going to work through this. They've opened up my account. We're going to be able to order our Switches for our esports club and the Nintendo Labos. Me and you are going to sit down. We're going to do that today. We're going to hit submit, and we could not be more excited.
This
I reached
is huge.
out. I gave them a pretty passionate email about Wally passing away and the last day of school, like this whole thing, and I'm so happy that they were able to understand life happens sometimes, and they're willing to let bygones be bygones. And I've been pouring my heart out on the podcast, saying that we need to get to this point. I want this for our kids. And just on Twitter, like esports is just blown up like crazy, and I have 6th graders asking me, like, kind of trying to help me like with the order and everything. And it's so cool because this is our next phase, and it's so cool that we're going to have these things probably in the next week here, that we can get our esports club started, using this in the classroom. And I'm just so happy that me and DonnorsChoose are friends again.
I know. You guys are like, you're not on a break now. Like, this is big. It's such a huge...
It's been a 5-year break.
It's been a 5-year break. It's a gift. It is a gift.
And you don't use DonnorsChoose just because of that.
Like, I am a very loyal friend, I will tell you. I'm a very loyal friend.
One of your best qualities.
But I'm really, really relieved, because that would have hit us pretty hard. And it was very,
Especially
they don't have to.
We've been talking it up,
Yeah, I know. And they don't have to do that. And so it's huge that they're going to. So that's a game changer, pun intended. Like, it is a game changer for us. It's going to be amazing. And the bottom line, it's a game changer because kids are asking for this. We mentioned it. It's been on people's radar, and they are ready. Like, they're ready. And so basically DonnorsChoose is really allowing us to do something, bring something to our campus that, like, our kids are ready for that next step.
Yeah, and throughout the state and then the district, and you just don't know where like this seed is going to go and where it's going to grow. And something that we want to do, we want to start hosting middle school like esports tournaments and kind of organize those things and get big on the scene. And I'm just so excited because the kids are so passionate. Like, this is our next phase. Like, this is where we're going. With the Minecraft education, which we also have to do today as well.
Yes,
and with the esports, and having the labos in the classroom, and like the true gamification. And I could not be more happy, and I want to thank you for pushing me. I know I was stressed about it, and you were just pushing me the whole way, saying you got to get this done, just rip it off like a band-aid, just send the email. And
it felt good when you did it, though. I mean, I could tell that you felt like a huge weight off, because then you're not in control of what their response is. There's nothing you can do. Now you just wait. But like, to have your part done, I could tell you felt a lot better. I felt a lot better. That's for sure. But this is huge. Like, and I keep seeing esports things, like Twitter is blowing up.
Yeah.
And I love, love, love when something that you and I have already started putting, in motion, when you see that our timing just lined up so awesome, and like the possibilities and the potential there are huge. They are huge.
Yeah. Shout out to Fiesta Bowl, DonnorsChoose.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to change the things that how kids learn and how they interact with one another on our campus. And it's going to be hard to keep this in a 7-8 level. I mean, we're going to have to like some way figure out to go to a 5-6 level as well, because the kids want it. This is their lives. This is what they do. Like, they're gamers. This is how they learn in terms of like scholarships and how education is changing. Like, these are things that are all in the classrooms, like all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's just so many opportunities from learning how to like green screen and cast, like with Twitch headsets, like building the PCs. Announcers are a big thing. Ryan, he has a career as an esports announcer. Like, when me and Mackenzie are there, he's just running around with his shirt off, like giving us the play-by-play. He loves it. And like, but these are like the careers, and where things are there. And I just saw some cool things where parents are just so proud seeing their kids like being part of these things. And because it's one thing to be on your couch, but like when you're part of that team and you're competing for things, you want to see, like you talked about the failure, you want to see like where do those skills translate into the real world. And this is the future. And I'm just so thankful for the Fiesta Bowl. And I've said this over and over. Like, when we started this podcast, we just don't know where the year is going to take us.
Right.
And you told me, you're like, take the shot, do this for the Fiesta Bowl. I'm like, I don't know. I think it's a little crazy. And
I'm so glad.
And they pulled my name for this. And this is it's just the next phase for us, you know, and
it is.
I feel like we've moved on from the first Lego League, and which is a good thing for us, and esports and the Minecraft education. It's going to be our new baby, which, you know, we said we wanted to be at the beginning of the third quarter. We're weekend, so we're a little behind schedule, but
well, we're waiting for some stuff to fall in line. You know, that's the hard thing. Honestly, I feel like we've moved faster with following through and deadlines and stuff than we have in the past. We're getting better, but we're only one component. There's other factors in there. And so, you know, we'll get there.
We are. And, you know, these are goals that we set out.
Right.
You know, these are things that we set out at the beginning of the year. We were like, we want to do this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. And, you know, set goals, people. Set goals because they come true. And
That's true. That is true. Well, you know, I'm not going to go too long on this, but I just have to say, Sam is obsessed with this new game, Ark. I don't know if it's a new game in the gaming world, but it's new to him. And I'm still hazy.
Tell us what Ark is.
Yeah, I'm hazy on what it is. But basically what I can tell from it is I think it's a spinoff or somehow connected to like a Minecraft type of world. So you are building, but basically it seems like you're building like... I heard him say ours has turrets, so I'm guessing it's like fortresses, like protection things. But strategy, I am completely blown away. Like, that's what gets me most excited about esports is these kids are going to have to think so differently. It's not just reactionary. It's like some of it is reactionary, but there's so much, you know, it's like chess, but, you know, in this game form. But Sam, they're taming dinosaurs. And so there's like, they're having to understand like chemistry. They're making tranquilizer darts. They have to know how to keep this dinosaur alive and how you tame it. And then you have to keep it under. It's like, and you're fighting against, you're battling against other people that may want to sabotage your thing, and they'll like let your dinosaurs go and like everything gets killed. It's fascinating. Ella and I were listening to him and we're like, we should just literally tweet out just clips that you hear the kids saying, because they're the most ridiculous statements. They mean nothing to us, but I am completely blown away by the amount of problem solving, and you're working virtually with these people and you're all coming together like, you're going to handle this, you're going to handle this. And I'm hearing so much leadership from my kid that I'm super supportive. It's hours though. It's tough, but it's amazing.
Well, I think you need to share your bad mom story from break.
Oh my God.
You have to.
Oh my gosh. Well, so break, you know, I will say he's 12 years old, and what 12-year-old boys want to do on winter break is they want a game. They just don't get a chance to do that. It's essentially their entertainment, but it's their decompression. It's their time with their friends. Like, it's everything all combined. And Sam would spend, I mean, he didn't get up super early, but I would say by 9, he was already on this game, as were his friends. And then they would go till like midnight, past midnight. And so every day. And so finally I was like, okay, I just like, first of all, you need to bathe, like you need to do some stuff. And so I said, I need you to take half a day off. Like, I just want you to, like, we're going to do some stuff. I took him to the library that day. We did some stuff, other things. And he actually said, you know, I'm glad that you had me do this because I needed a break, you know, I was glad. So he didn't like it at first, but then he was glad. But then he wasn't so glad, because then I let him.
I love where the story's going.
I let him go back on that night, and I come in and he is in hysterics, and I don't mean laughing. So he is very, very upset, because as I get him to calm down and he's telling me they've lost everything. So while I'm having Sam go to the library and run errands with me and have time with his mama, all of his one dinosaur got loose and killed all of the rest, and they literally lost everything that they had worked for days and days and days and days on, and he was devastated. And I felt awful.
You did feel awful. I remember you telling me that story. I was laughing, but I know how Sam gets when he's like passionate about something.
It's a tough thing, because those game makers are genius, because if you leave and you don't stay on it, then you lose your stuff, because at some point you have to you have to go grocery shopping as an adult, or you have to go to a job, or you have to go to school. Like, you have to leave. And I'm confused about how people are not losing everything.
And the fact that is like, there's like a crew of them, like, so
crew.
it wasn't just Sam, like, someone else could have gone in there and checked it. So on that day, like nobody like went in there and checked it.
That's what I said. I'm like, you have to come up with a plan.
Sam was crushed there.
But someone sabotaged them yesterday, some kids from school, they broke off and they mutinied. And so then it was like a battle, and they were like, fortify this and this. And it was it was as if it was a real, and I kept saying like, it's not real life. Like, calm down. But it was cool to see like, okay, someone has infiltrated your ranks, and what's your reaction, and how are you going to like preserve your stuff, and what's your strategy to defend and offer the offense. I'm finding it fascinating.
Can you please record some clips and,
I'm 100%.
and tweet them
you
out
will
for
love
us?
them. It is the most hysterical thing ever. So it is pretty awesome.
I think we need to have Sam on here and just give us the arc rundown and kind of relive that moment. And I want to know what this arc is. And
yeah, it's really cool. Well, your son knows. You just have to ask him.
Yeah, so I think we got to have Sam on. Maybe have his buddy Noah. Unless Noah was part of that
Noah's
split.
He's one of his peeps.
Noah's still in his thing there, but that's so cool what these kids do and will do. And like, Ryan's the same way. Like yesterday, like I had to make him because my kids don't have technology during the week, and Ryan was a little foul because I made him work from 3:30 to 4:30 when we were doing that Astro Camp email, and usually that's his like downtime before we go to tumbling. He's like, "Oh, I want to quit tumbling." I'm like, "Oh, I already signed you up for the year, so we'll come back." And it's January, so we'll talk next year. And like so we went for a hike yesterday, went to the dog park, and he just needed to have that little activity in the morning. And then like at 9:30, I was like so busy yesterday, just like cleaning, doing things, and this is 9:30 at night. He's like, "Oh, we haven't played any Rocket League today," so we sat down for 40 minutes, and
that's nice.
And he's getting good. Like he's like, so now like I don't feel like I'm carrying him the whole time. Yeah. And we went on this like run, like we went like 5-1. It was awesome. We were winning all these games, and then one time he was upset. I was scoring all the goals, and I'm like we're winning 6-0, bud. Like and then so like it was 10-10. I'm like so like at 10 o'clock I should have like gone Cinderella and had the ball turn into a pumpkin, but he melted down. Classic Sam. It is like when you go past that point, and we were winning, and I'm like, we won. And he's like, you didn't let me score a goal. And he's just like,
you do get a little competitive.
Yeah, I do, and but I'm having so much fun, learn from him, and he's in first grade, and he's in there, and like he's competing with these. Who knows how old these kids are, and
it's probably best we don't know.
This is yeah, that's true. But this is the next thing for like schools and kids that are his age doing this, and I just love how much kids love Rocket League and how much I love it.
That's awesome.
Well, you had a big week as well. This is the third year in a row that you've hosted the Sierra Verde Spelling Bee.
I love that Spelling Bee.
What do you love about the Spelling Bee?
Well, first of all, I've always been a wordy. I have always been a wordy. I love vocabulary. I'm totally a dork like that. And when I was a kid, I used to be in spelling bees, and I really like them. So I'm a pretty good speller, and I think I have a fairly extensive vocabulary. But
that might be an understatement.
Yeah, when Michelle, Coach Thomas, asked me to do this 3 years ago, it was my first year, and I was freaking out. I don't know if you remember, but I was a hot mess over this because I really hadn't. Oh, no, I was a judge 1 year, maybe the year prior or 2 years prior, but I had judged it before. But I was like, oh, my gosh, like there's rules and, what if I mess up? And so, I took that packet home and I highlighted it and I listened to the pronunciations of words, and like I was such a mess. I was so stressed out, but I loved it. And then last year, I just was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have a little fun with it. It's very stressful. You see how stressed the kids are. That makes me sad because, that's a lot of pressure, and I feel like kids are so hard on themselves. And so I'm like, okay, this is something that like I can kind of help with that. So I found my groove, and I had looked at the packet ahead of time and highlighted some words and kind of had a plan and stuff. And I really enjoyed it. And then this year, I'm looking at that stage, and poor Jaden, oh my gosh, that poor kid, she looked like she was going to puke at any moment. And so I was just like focused on her. And then we had some kids that were popped into it at the last minute. But I really love that, spelling, much like anything, like seemingly academic, like a geography review. It's tough to go in there and be in front of your peers because people aren't always kind to you about, being part of that. And sometimes you get made fun of. But if you think about what they're doing, it's so hard to spell. Like I have a hard time visualizing words in my mind. Like I can write, like if someone asked me how to spell things, I would say, oh, let me write it down. But to do it but then you're hearing noises and you're seeing all the crowd, and it's very, very challenging. So I love the whole energy about it. Like I just think it's seriously one of my favorite things of the whole year.
It is like my favorite week during the summer when ESPN is doing the Scripps Spelling Bee, the National
awesome.
Spelling Bee, and they're doing like the highlights of kids and their reactions and some of the crazy words. You do such a great job bringing such a great energy to the crowd and kind of, really like being the maestro of the spelling bee. Like that's what you are, and like, just to have that command and make it fun and kind of ease those tensions for the kids. And
fun.
Also keep like the kids on the edge of their seats. And how many rounds did that final one go?
I was trying to remember if it was 17 or 18. Well, we've never the first year was nowhere near that, second year either, like 17 or 18 rounds. And they did it, kudos to them. Those were some tough words. I like how Bonham was like, what's nephorous anyway? And I was like, it's nefarious. I use that word all the time. I was like, yeah, it was just so funny. But I really loved that day. And I was really, really proud of the crowd. It's tough to sit there and listen to people spell. It's 7th and 8th grade students. They were so good.
They were.
No one was talking. No one was being disrespectful. No one was it was so quiet. And they were not quiet because they had fallen asleep, quiet because they were engaged. And I love how you said that some of my 8th graders went up and were congratulating the 7th graders, just telling them what a good job. And I heard that from a lot of different kids too. Yeah, it made me really proud of them.
It was awesome. It was so cool. And the kids were like on the edge of their seat. I was on the edge of my seat, and you try to play along as a teacher and try to spell these words, and you're just blown away by what the kids are doing. And me and Bonham, and Poblano.
I love that you thought that was.
I thought it was a cheese because we just went to my favorite restaurant. We went to Blanco, and remember Sam talked about he's like, the difference is not getting the Poblano on the burrito or something, and he said something, and I just assumed it was a cheese, and I had no clue it was a pepper.
Yeah,
and then
it's chili pepper.
I told Bonham, I'm like, it's a cheese. I was just at Blanco.
I wonder though if you were partly thinking that too because Romano is a type of cheese. Maybe there somewhere in your mind was connecting that.
It was Sam. I went back to Sam.
I was dying. I was laughing so hard when the one that really stumped 8th grade. So many kids came up to me. They're like, I had no idea how to spell avocado. Thought it was an AVA all this time. It's mind blown. But
it's like raspberry.
It's fun. Yeah, that is a good one. That wasn't on the list. But man, it was just such a fun way to start the morning. I love the spelling bee. I love the community of it. I really am rooting for, our team as they move forward. I love those kinds of academic things too, Battle of the Books, Spelling Bee, good for them, good for them. And, I can't wait to see what they do next.
They're crushing it. Well, you had a big week in 8th grade. You had an assignment over break.
Yes, I did.
The students had to turn in their books. So tell us, what is the basis of these books that the students had to write and illustrate?
Yeah. So the unit that we're in, 8th grade science is different in the fact that you don't have 4 quarter units. You have 3 blocks. So you have 3 things instead of the 4. So we have bio, and then you have chemistry, and then you end with a unit on physics. And chemistry, all of chemistry boils down to, no pun intended. That's a good one. That was a good analogy. It all boils down to particles. It all boils down to matter and how matter behaves. How matter behaves when you add energy, when it reacts with other things. It's all about, the particles and the states of matter. And so I have them do a children's book, and it has to be all about states and phases of matter. And they have a whole month. So they have all of December to do this. Do they start at the beginning of December? Not so much. I do give them a day. They sit down in class and then they work on it. And then right before break, I gave them another day. So my goal and what I said to them is, I don't want you going into break cold, having not started at all, because I was a kid and I remember if you haven't started a big project, then you put it off and you've never like started it, then it's hard to jump in, really hard to jump in. So anyway, so we did this, and but they're children's books. So they're children's books about these complex concepts that they have learned about, but they have to be able to write it in a simplified version that they could read it to second grade, because second grade does states of matter as well. So I thought it would be good to kind of reinforce what they do, and then so we pair it with them. So they have to know their audience. They have to understand what makes a good book as far as like engaging, like characters, storyline, color, words. Max, bless Max, he is like no other, and he has such a high content volume within his head about everything, and so his children's book is like a college dissertation. And so what Max is going to do is he turned that in, and that's fine because that's where his heart is, but you have to know your audience, and he cannot read that to a second grader. So he's going to do a modified version, simplified version for second grade. Before
a lot of kids are talking about Max's book.
They genuinely are like, oh my gosh. But they were actually kind of delighted because they knew that it's not going to meet the criteria, and they spent a lot of time trying to write it in the way that it did for them. So, it'll be interesting. I sat down and kind of mapped out the rest of this unit to see when I can tap second grade to read these. It's typically just second grade, but last year lunches didn't work out and special schedules didn't work out, so we had to pull in some other grades. So we may have to do that as well. I kind of have to look at what their availability is and compare that with mine, because I have four classes, and so I have to pair them up. So
you did a good job preparing the kids though last year. You said these are some tough critics. I know my daughter was in that group last year,
she's hilarious, crushing
kids, and you said some kids, some eighth graders walked away in tears last year after hearing the harsh criticism of some of these younger kids.
Actually, one of the people, and I think we had said we were going to talk about him, and I don't think we did.
I just wrote his name down.
But is Lohit, and he was very much on the same level as Max, and he wrote a phenomenal book, but it was chapters. And after page 1, his kid just said, "Your book is boring," and literally stood up and walked away.
I'm not laughing.
Lohit was but the reason it was just Lohit wrote a great story, it just wasn't age appropriate. So it's good for kids, especially when you're at a K-8. Eighth graders need to understand how to interact with younger kids because they're the role models, but it's not a peer-to-peer situation. So you have to know how to modify and how you can be able to have those conversations, because the second graders are incredibly well-versed in matter. And so they can have really good conversations with you, but you just need to be able to be, at a better understanding of where that conversation starts. But yeah, the books are amazing, and I just barely started grading, although that I've had some trickiness with this grade book this year. Sure enough, I put in a different assignment. I put 2 grades in the grade book yesterday. Not grades, but like the assignment I put into the grade book, and I graded one thing. It was a 10-point class assignment, and I went in and put all those grades, and I accidentally put those into the children's books. So the children's books are worth 50, and I put in everybody having 10 points, and so every single person got an F, and I got so many messages.
Oh, geez.
Like, I am not kidding. A minute after those went in, I started getting messages on Remind, and I was like, oh my gosh, did I just do this? And so anyway, I fixed it. I would have figured it out like minutes later, but yeah.
Now, what are some of your highlight books that you've sat down and read?
So the first one that I read yesterday, it was so cool the way she did it. First of all, one of the big things for their children's books is they have to have a surprise element of some sort. And that can be a lot of different things. It could have a touch and feel kind of thing. It could have like hidden pictures. It can be anything. But she did hers, and she made it where she's collecting these states of matter, and the character puts them in a snow globe. So she attached half of this plastic clear dome on the front of her book and actually made a snow globe on there. And it has like confetti or something in there, not glitter, but confetti. And her whole story is about this snow globe situation. And it's so simple and so perfect, and the kids are going to lose their minds. There's ones on that are with Paw Patrol characters. There's a really cool Scooby-Doo one. I've just briefly looked at it. One girl did her whole book, and with the book she sent in a pack of scented markers, and the kids will color along with the scented markers as they read the book.
My mind is blown.
I mean, it's crazy. So I'm super pumped, and I've just barely started looking at them, and then, to be honest, I fell asleep. So I'm not gonna stay up late. So anyway, but that's where it is. But I'm incredibly proud of the amount of pride that goes into their work. That just makes me proud.
That's awesome. I look forward to seeing these books on Twitter and kind of see the kids' reactions. I always love seeing the 8th graders reading those books to the younger kids. And I think last year, did you do first, second, and third last year, or did you do second and third?
I did second, third, and fourth.
Second, third, and fourth. And
because that's what worked out.
Yeah, for the times there. And they're so cool. And like when you said like these are rolling in, you're like, I'm just blown away by their creativity, like how much work they put into these and how awesome they came out. And I know this is one of your highlights as a teacher that you do every year. And, it's hard. It's hard to gauge your audience. Sometimes we even struggle with that as teachers. Like being like, is this on their level? Is it too hard? Like, is it below them? And, this is a tough skill for 8th graders to know, Max and Lohit especially. But I'm glad that Max is given the Cliff Notes version.
He's just so good. I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure I'm going to need to sit down with like a professor when I do, because it's going to be so high level, but same amount of effort went into it. And so, I'm proud of these kids. I really am.
Well, and speaking of which, we were getting ready to come back last Saturday, and we both received an email from our man Lohit. I used to call him Lohit. Lohit's the man. He just moved to Austin. This is his first year in Austin. He's a sophomore this year, and he came to say goodbye, and we have like the best picture with him. We were just so excited to see him. And
but we were so sad they were moving.
He was coming by to tell us he was leaving. He sent us his awesome email about the things he's doing. He's now part of the FRC, First Lego League, the robotics at the high school level, something that we've been begging him to get involved in.
So perfect for him.
And it seems like he's like really found his people. But I had to call you once I got this email. And I was just like so blown away. I'm like, did you see this email? You're like, no, I haven't logged in my email yet. I'm like, Lohit sent us an email. He let us know how he's doing, and just his words were just so impactful for me and you, and just to hear how he's doing and all these cool things he's doing. But as a teacher, those are the things that we don't get those big bonuses, but we get these little like nuggets that they are the biggest bonus that we tuck away. And like when we're having a bad day, we can pull those up, and it just made both of us like what he said about you. You were. God, I was reading it to you, and you were getting choked up, and he's just like one of the best kids on planet Earth. And
you want them, but here's my favorite part of. Well, there were so many. I can't say my favorite part, but moving in high school is tough. That's a tough age, and he's found his people. He's found this group where his brain, because I like that he sought out a STEM school. That's huge, because that he's meant to do that. But beyond that, he sought out a robotics club. Here's the thing I love. You did robotics with them. You had a really small group. You only did it for a month, something like that, right towards the end. But that was something they were just dying to do. And they were like, come on, let us do this. And then you just threw them in and you challenged them to do these things. And you kept saying how good he would be for this. So you planted those seeds. But he didn't do it. He didn't do it at high school. He didn't do it in Ridge the first year. And then he moved and something connected finally, but those seeds were already planted. And then he was willing to give that a chance. And I will tell you, that is the perfect environment for the way he processes the world, the way he thinks. And him with robotics or AI, think about what he could actually, the kid is fascinated with time travel. I'm like, who knows?
I still think he's going to crack the code.
I do too. And I look at him and think, you need to introduce them to these things. You have to show them that you believe in them and say you should be doing this. You have the capability of doing this. And you say it and you say it and you say it, and then you push them out of the nest, and then he's soaring. He's soaring. And that is an amazing thing to see.
But to start the 2020 year, like that totally filled our buckets.
Oh my
It was such a great moment, such a great email. So
It really
Lohit,
was.
if you're listening, we appreciate you.
We're proud
and
of you, bud.
we're so proud of what you're doing. And we've been telling you for years, like, this is where you need to be. This is what you need to be doing. And Austin's like in such a tech kind of mecca kind of place.
Keep it
with
weird,
like,
bro. Keep it weird.
Stay weird, Austin. South by Southwest. They do like that whole like ed tech conference. They do a whole teacher one. And I mean, that is between music and technology. Lohit's like where he needs to be.
He's right there.
I can't wait to hear how his team does at the state tournament. You finally emailed them back this week.
Actually, I started it and I didn't finish the email, so
You
I need to.
You texted me and you told me
I
you
said
were.
I'm finally sitting down to respond, and I was mid-respond. But the problem is when your email closes, although it might be a draft, I should see. It better be, because I had got about halfway.
Well,
I like to put a lot of thought into those.
And this is all in the first week back of 2020.
I know.
Well, like we always say, people, if you can be anything in the world, be kind and keep changing the world. Now, if you want to know, did these things actually happen? Did Mrs. Scofield have to jump my car? You need to follow us on Twitter. You can find me at Mr. Lane the STEM Guy.
And me at a positive proton.